Home Assistant and the Open Home Foundation. So today I'm going to talk you through how we view interoperability on the platform with over 3,000 integrations, and particularly how we focus on open standards or protocols like Z-Wave. So for anyone who's not familiar with Home Assistant, I'll just briefly introduce us. Home Assistant is an open source smart home platform powered by a passionate global community of tinkerers. You can use it to connect your smart home together without being locked into one device manufacturer or one connectivity type. It can be used on our own hub hardware, a Raspberry Pi, or installed on mini PCs. It works locally without the need for cloud connectivity, and it's completely free to use. Because of the open source nature of the system, anyone can contribute to the project and add to our thousands of integrations, regardless of whether they're a brand new hobbyist developer or a manufacturer with a large resource and a large team. And this means that we're not limited to the type of interactions and integrations that we include. Last year, we had over 21,000 people contributing to the project on GitHub, meaning that we're the largest open source project of our kind in the world. Home Assistant represents an alternative to big tech that is community built and maintained, and is currently in more than 2 million households worldwide. Because of this powerful community, we attract interest from other players in the industry, and so last year we created the Open Home Foundation, of which Home Assistant is the flagship project. So the Open Home Foundation is a non-profit based in Switzerland, to which our founder, Paulus, donated Home Assistant last year. This means that it can never be bought, never be sold, and Home Assistant will always remain free and open source. It also means that we're able to steward other projects that are open source and relate to the open home, such as ESP Home, Music Assistant, and a host of other projects and libraries. The foundation is also how staff like myself who work on Home Assistant are employed. For me personally, the foundation also runs the Works with Home Assistant program, for which I'm responsible, and this program is just one of the ways in which manufacturers interact with us. So the Open Home Foundation fights for the fundamental principles of privacy, choice, and sustainability for smart homes and for every person who lives in one. It does this by supporting the development of open source projects and open connectivity and communication standards. So if we start off with privacy, we believe that people should be able to share what they want with whom they want. We believe in local control, with cloud being optional and opt-in only. Secondly is choice. We believe that users shouldn't be locked into a specific manufacturer's ecosystem, that they should be able to mix and match their devices depending on their use case, have the choice of repairable items, and the choice of how their data is managed. And lastly, sustainability. We believe our devices should be able to stand the test of time and particularly work locally, so that if a manufacturer ever turns off their cloud for whatever reason, maybe they've gone out of business, maybe it's just too expensive for them anymore, these devices should keep working forever and not contribute to e-waste. Because we are not governed by investors or working for commercial profit, we are, above all things, led by our community. So if we just focus in on choice for a second, when you think about a vision for the open home, having the brains, having just Home Assistant is not enough for a smart home as a standalone project. It needs devices to listen to and to do things, and these devices need to talk to Home Assistant using trusted open standards. And sometimes we get asked why we don't just pick one standard and make that the default for Home Assistant. Now, as the foundation, we believe that a monopoly is always a negative. And this sector needs competition between standards so that they all keep innovating and pushing everyone forward. As every home is different and every use case is different, this is really, really important to us. Every standard is a solution for a different need that users may have. And we also want to make sure that all device types are able to work with our system in every region. And to formalize this, we run the Works with Home Assistant program. So Works With is a specific badging program run by the foundation, and the badge is only awarded to devices from manufacturers who really buy into our process, our values, and they go through a specific legal agreement with us. It doesn't limit anything in the ecosystem. Everything that integrates with Home Assistant already still does, that won't change, but the badge shows which companies sign up to really go above and beyond to use open standards or to take responsibility for their own integrations and keep their devices running on our system long term. It also prioritizes local control and items that will work in your home for the foreseeable future. Cloud has to be opt-in only, and each device in Works with Home Assistant has to be able to function fully without the need for any cloud login or connectivity. So all of the all of the functionality a device would have natively should be available within Home Assistant, and devices should be able to connect easily, update firmware so that you don't have to go searching around every different manufacturer's app or website to try and make sure your devices are secure and up to date. And we also have a small fee. It's not a commercial one. It's only 500 Swiss francs, which is about 480 euros, and that's per partner, not per device. So the price isn't a barrier to new startup companies who are looking to buy into this ecosystem and who believe in our values more than anything else. And this is our way of influencing manufacturers across the smart home industry to build devices that support that vision of the open home. So how do we take action? The main thing is that we really want to make sure that we're in the right rooms to be able to live the values and live our vision. Even though we have a very unusual structure in this industry, we vote with our feet and with our wallets and with our time by joining groups such as the Connectivity Standards Alliance, the Z-Wave Alliance, of which we're board members. And this is both to show support for open standards, but also represent our community in these rooms too. And separately from this, we also provide funding to other open source projects that intertwine with ours. There you go. So if we're a non-profit and the software is completely free to use, how do we do this? Where does the money come from? Our work is made possible by the contributions of these organizations. And particularly, I'm going to focus in on one, which is Nabu Casa, and they're one of our commercial partners. Nabu Casa helps to fund the development of Home Assistant. Again, it's not funded by investors, it's funded by our community. And it provides Home Assistant Cloud and Home Assistant hardware. These are optional extras to make it easier to use whilst funding the development. So it's a win-win for us, for the commercial partner Nabu Casa, and for our community also. They also produce Home Assistant products in support of our development. They've released hub devices like the Home Assistant Green, which was released a few years ago, and that comes with Home Assistant OS installed. And they also released the first device in our Home Assistant Connect line that supported Zigbee and Thread, and a Thread for Matter. So when we joined the Z-Wave Alliance, we decided that even though we had considerably less users with Z-Wave devices, only about 8% of our users, in fact, are using Z-Wave, our vision for the open home still needed Z-Wave to be a competitive option in our ecosystem and to ensure that that choice was kept available for our users. The Foundation's funding model lets us make choices that would not traditionally be seen as commercially viable in this sector. It lets us take really big swings. So in August, Nabu Casa released the ZWA2, the most powerful Z-Wave adapter available on the market. And we didn't limit ourselves to a traditional form factor for this. We started off with the optimal antenna length, tuned for the Z-Wave frequency, and particularly for the new long-range part of the standard, and then we built our housing around that. So if I just take a sec to show it off. Firstly, here is our first ever Connect device, if I can search for it in my pocket. And this was released a few years ago. This supports Zigbee and Thread. You can see it's got a pretty standard, small, very tiny USB form factor. Whereas this bad boy is the ZWA2. It's ideal for Z-Wave long range, and it's massive. Sometimes size does matter, so it's worth every inch of extra space. I also learned yesterday that it's quite strange to take through airport security. So that was a fun discussion at the airport. This is also certified by the Z-Wave Alliance for long range, and it features the latest 800 chipset from Silicon Labs and an ESP32. Because Z-Wave uses sub-gigahertz radio waves rather than the crowded 2.4 gigahertz wavelength of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, etc., it firstly has a quieter spectrum. It has less interference from other stuff going on in your airspace. And additionally, this wavelength is also better suited for getting through thick walls or across kind of large properties or weirdly shaped households. So the hardware is also backed up with software from the team at the Foundation. Our Z-Wave integration is maintained by Dominic, who built the Z-Wave.js library, another open source driver project. And the hardware can also work with other systems. It's not locked into Home Assistant. However, within the Home Assistant ecosystem, we've built powerful systems which allow you to onboard easily transfer your current Z-Wave devices to this adapter seamlessly. And choice comes back to the forefront with this also, as it's long-range ready, but if you'd prefer to use Z-Wave Classic, it will build you a mesh system instead of a star one. And this is great if you're in an area like me in the UK, where there aren't that many long-range devices available yet. You can also change it to long-range in the future should you upgrade some devices too. Where previously users might not have been, they might be limited to the kind of mesh network of their home, additional coverage means that they can now automate outside of their home into their gardens, to their fences, to their boundary lines, their mailboxes, to their guest houses even. So this is just a little look at our PCB. We make sure that all of the information about how we built this is fully built in the open as well. So we are open for tinkering. People like to take our stuff apart, mess with it, do whatever they want with it, and we encourage that wherever possible. So when this was released on Amazon, it very quickly went to #1 of the hot new releases in home automation. And these are just a little snippets of feedback that we've seen from a previously fairly quiet section of our market. Before we launched this, we also launched a couple of partners under the Works With banner. So we launched Zeus as a partner during the summer who exclusively do Z-Wave products. And we had an overwhelming amount of positive feedback from this, saying, yeah, my whole house is on Zeus. It's the only thing I use. I exclusively use Z-Wave. Now, in Europe especially, I think it's easy to discount and miss that section of the market. And we've also found this device helps people shore up the mesh of their network, and suddenly their devices aren't dropping off where they previously were. So maybe before, when they would have switched a device out thinking that it's not working very well, instead they're keeping it because the connection is better, and we're reducing consumer e-waste as well. So next, I just want to encourage you to join us, join the fight. If you are a manufacturer and you're interested in the Works with Home Assistant program, please just get in touch. Open up your ecosystems, use open standards. If you're a developer or if you're an engineer, join our community. We're in a bunch of different places, on our website, on our Discord, on our forums. They're very active, very passionate, very exacting in some ways. And even if you're not a developer, contribute in another way. We have loads of really cool, interesting voice projects. We have community management, lots of different ways that you can get involved. And then lastly, an open question that we would love some more perspectives on. What is range to you? Where does your home start and end? Does it end when you close your front door? Does it extend to your garden, the hallway outside of your apartment, to the end of your driveway? Does it include your vehicle, your bike, your boat? We'd love to know what it means to you so that we can keep building accordingly. Thank you.